are going to get, a lot of you are going to get sick and tired of hearing me talk about this. So do you see the thing that I have on my site right here that says C2EX?
Yes, sir.
And remember talking to microphones, and remember out there in La La Land, I want to hear from you too. Have you ever heard of this before?
Yes.
Hello, La La Land. Have you heard of C2EX?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, guess what? There are 41 agents in the city of Wichita that have the C2EX designation. This is a program that the NAR started, I think, almost 4 years ago. And it's trying to increase the excellent type of service that people provide, ethics, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Now, while there have been 41 that have actually finished it, there are 144 that have started it. Because this is something that you can log in, you can do in just 5-minute increments. You can do it an hour at a time. In all honesty, it took me 2 hours to complete this last Friday, the whole thing. But in all honesty, let me qualify some of that. I'm pretty darn smart about code of ethics and arbitration and mediation. And if you're smart in an area, you can test out of it. You take one little test, like 5 questions, says, okay, you don't need anything, go on. It also has a bunch of commitments in here that talk about, have you ever been to a city council meeting? Have you served on a committee at the Board of Realtors? Have you done a few other things? And since I've had 3 years in this business, 3 whole years in this business, all right, thank you. I've done a lot of the things that they already wanted done. But here's the biggest thing that I want you to carry away from this today. If I can find the area I want to get to. My achievement, got it. Not only do they have an individual, and I got a certificate and put it on my Facebook page, but they have what they call a brokerage office qualification. There are only 32 in the United States, but there are absolutely 0 in Kansas. Oh, wait a minute. Did they add some in Kansas now? Wow. Oh, I'm not I'm in individuals. I'm in the realtors, not in the brokerage office. So if you go to brokerage office and you go search, there are none. I want to be the first office in the state that has completed this, and then we'll advertise the dickens out of it. And we'll make, and the Knopferts have said they're going to make their whole team this way. They'll be the first team in Wichita to have accomplished this. This is something that talks about us going above and beyond the bare minimum. And we all know there's a lot of companies out there that do the bare minimum, maybe. I want to be first. To be first, we have to have 80% of the company finish this. Oh, so I need help. Yes, Cheryl?
The good part of this, I mean, you get something out of it also, other than just a certification. You get your mandatory ethics requirement.
This is true.
That. So yeah, so it's a double dinger good, and it stands for Commitment to Excellence. And I love Greg's idea. Absolutely. Let's do it.
And those of you that seen my Facebook page, you get a nice certificate at the end. You can add the alphabet soup to your name. And even more, we as a company can stand up with a fair amount of pride if we all do it. So remember, all you have to do is search C2EX. And no, I'm not going to ask commitments on publicly today. I'll get those privately when I have you all one-on-one. So there you go. So that's my first spiel of the day. So we are going to go into drip email, and I'm going to switch to Brenda because the controls and things that I get are a lot different than what you get. I'm going to say a couple of things about Moxie so you'll understand why we've been doing it the way we have. The drip email is all in Engage, and Engage is where all of your people are. And remember that we talked about categorizing your people. Moxie is not the easiest drip email program I've ever used. It's very good at a lot of things and makes them easy. But if you want to get into some very specific and controlling things, it gets a lot harder. So today, my goal is to show you how to do an easy drip email. Do all of you currently get my animal reminder of what the holidays are? It comes out and says Happy Valentine's Day and has 2 kitties on it or something. I think you do because I've gotten remarks back from people. That's what we're going to add for Brenda. And the reason we're going to add that today is that's very easy. It's for everybody, and we don't have to worry about all the controls. Next week, we're going to talk about adding email like recently closed and how it happens and some other things. But I need you to understand the basics of how it works. So all of the drip campaigns, emails, campaigns, and everything is in this little portion of Engage that says campaigns. Click on it. This looks easy, not easy. I don't know how you want to think about it. But what you'll see is Brenda, who doesn't use this program because she's using Follow Up Boss, doesn't have any campaigns at all, none awaiting setup, running, paused, or archived. And the reason you have those 4 things is if I add a campaign from here, it will be coming into here to this awaiting setup. If I have a campaign running, it will show me that. And then if you pause one again and archive, before you can delete a campaign, you have to archive it. That keeps you from accidentally deleting it. You'll see across the top here, eBlast. Well, this would be something like I want to create an email to send to everybody all at once, or I want to send it to a group all at once. Neighborhood news. Remember we set that up last week where we said this is where the neighborhood is that you live by. Well, this is where you can show who's been receiving them, how many have opened them, how many have clicked them, and so on. Listing announcements. I don't particularly support the listing announcements, but what they are, if you set up a group of people inside your sphere to get an announcement every time you list a new home, that's a listing announcement. My question is, how many of your sphere cares every time you list a new home? Yes, ma'am. Microphone.
Can you use that to send to Facebook?
No, this is an email only. All of this is email. And finally, we have emails. These 2 sections right here are where we're going to spend most of our time today. They're my emails and add from a library. So if I click on my emails first, and I will also say this is a relatively slow program. It can take a while to go on. What we have pre-populated for you guys in here is a whole bunch of emails and some campaigns that you could add or turn on at any point. They are. They're not. Then they may be in there because I added campaigns from Brenda and I've taken them away.
So did you go to library, add from library?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you go to add from library.
So you don't have any emails in there. Gotcha.
Yep. It says blank for agent, BHG, place to work.
Okay, then let me start back and say this, and thank you, Elena, for that. I've been playing in Brenda's account to test it. It may be that I accidentally put a whole bunch of stuff in there that you don't have yet. So let me go back and if you're in my campaigns,
There is like a thank you for your business.
Right. So let's go. Let me rephrase my thinking and come back to here to my campaigns. If I go to add from library, because now I'm not adding emails, I'm adding a campaign. You with me? If I click on that, in a moment, there's going to be campaigns that come up from the library. And yes, it takes a minute. There are a couple of main different kind of emails in here. There's an email that gets triggered by, I had a closing date, and on day 0, I want this to happen. On day 5, I want this to happen. On day 12, I want this to happen. And there are campaigns where they have, on the 4th of July, everybody gets this. On the 1st of September, everybody gets this. Everybody with me on that? You'll also see that some of these in here are Better Homes and Gardens, the parent company. In the parent company, they don't necessarily write the way Greg writes, or for stuff that I see that fits our neighborhood. So if you scroll down some, you're going to find in the middle here where it starts saying brokerage. These are ones that I went through and edited way back when, last February. And I pulled some out that I didn't think fit. I put some in that I thought would fit better. And some of these you're going to look at and say, well, that's for recruiting. Yeah, you probably don't want to use my recruiting ones. It's because they don't know how to do all the permissions the way I do, or I'd like them to. But they have, let's see, holiday e-cards. I went through those. Seasonal home maintenance, more for Wichita. Buyer warm prospects, buyer seller projects. And these I took and I put them in our system after I edited them out. They get very complex sometimes, but this one here is the one I want to use today. Do you have in yours, you can have the Holiday Greetings e-card pet edition? Yes, says Sandra. I want you to be adding a campaign. I know I'm trying to go slow. And so, because I tend to go fast. Oh, okay. Well, look at share Sandra's screen. Then I'm on campaigns. Does your screen look like this? Now you can try to go down. I don't want everybody. I just want the brokerage ones, and that's fine. You can sort, you can do things, but I'm going to get here because the basics of this is the same for every campaign we do from here on out. Holiday Greetings e-card pet edition. Now, there's 2 ways. There's only 2 things I can do from this screen now, from this one. I can either add it to my campaigns, or I can preview what they're going to look like, which gives me a chance to say, I like that one. I want to do it. The reason I started with emails will become very clear in a minute. So I click on preview, and it takes a while, but then you'll see that there are 29 in there. You'll also see that the dates run, some of those dates are already passed. And then we get up to where the dates are in the future. Well, when I assign this to people, they're not going to get all this previous ones, okay? It'll only go forward from the date that we're starting at.
Is that holiday greeting supposed to be in everybody's?
The
library?
holiday greeting, yes.
Greg,
Yes.
so you say that the ones that are passed this year won't get sent.
Correct.
How long does this campaign last? Will it start over and then they'll get them next year?
This one goes to January 2023. And then you'd have to go in and assign a new one.
Okay.
No, because the dates are already set. So knock on wood, they will actually create a new one with the new dates for it. Is her showing up?
It's sticky. She was in emails. So
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't fix that right. Sometimes if you can't log in and it's looking for credentials, it's really asking you to reset your password. You have to write them and reset your password. So we'll work on that in a few minutes. Okay, so if you click on the preview, which is where we're at now, everybody caught up with me? Well,
tried to hit the preview and it's not loading.
it takes a while sometimes.
I went over there.
And it takes a while sometimes. And if it, because there's a lot of emails in here and you see it says preview unavailable. Well, a lot of that is because that date is already gone. Now I get up to Happy New Year. And and that's what the email looks like. Now, no, total of 29, including last year, because they did 2 years in a row. So Valentine's Day with 2 turtles. They do put in your contact's first name there. Time to hop ahead an hour. Okay, so this is why I'm choosing this one. This is an easy one to say, I want to send this to everybody in my campaign. Now, if you trust that this is going to be okay, you don't have to preview any of them. But I wanted to show you, particularly when you get into some of the other ones, like a new buyer or a warm lead or so on, you do want to edit those and see what they look like. Yes, Lynn?
You answered my question. I was just getting ready to ask, can you edit them?
Yes, but it's not much fun. Which is why I went through and edited them for everybody in the company first, so you wouldn't have to, okay? But let's keep going here and we say, okay, we've seen enough. This one is, what is it? Bees are buzzing, people are hopping. We've seen enough of this and we say, you know, this will be appropriate for my client list. So I'm good with it. I'm going to add it to my campaigns. Now, as I've said, there are things about this program that drive me nuts. They're very, very slow. But you saw there a little green box that came up and went away that said it's been added to your campaigns. And it takes me back to my campaign list here. And it says all campaigns awaiting setup, because I've not said who I'm sending it to yet. And it's not running. The only thing I'm not going to do is start this running because Brenda may not want me to send this to all of her contacts. So I'm going to protect that. But when I click on awaiting setup, the screen shifts. I have one down here now. And in a minute, it's going to come up and say what the open rate is and the clicks and the unsubscribes and all that. Now, again, this is a very slow program. And I'm going to click on, it's not been opened, it's not clicked, it's not all that because we've not sent it to anybody.
Hey, Greg, if they unsubscribe, will we get a notification?
It will, yes, and it shows up on your dashboard who unsubscribed. So to give you an example, I set up a brand new campaign for agents that I'm going to meet here at the office in a couple of weeks. I subscribed them to the neighborhood news and they got a welcome to, or thank you for the appointment, looking forward to see you and so on. Immediately yesterday, somebody unsubscribed from everything and I got an email that said, John Smith has unsubscribed from everything. So yes, not only do you get that, but you get to look at it in here. So Right now, what you see is after that popped up, then it gives the individual emails and it says, have anybody opened them, what the open rate, and so on. This is a little bit more difficult with this kind of email because my fall 2022 is not going to go out till you see the scheduled date, September 22nd. So of course, nobody's opened it yet, right? Because it hasn't gone anywhere. But when you're doing things like warm leads, past client, and so on, it will show you what the open rate is. And part of those metrics are to say, should I change that email? Should I do these kind of things? Now, I don't want to get too deep in that subject because I don't want to go down a rabbit hole. But let me say this. You can worry a well of a lot about all kinds of metrics because big companies do. Or you can know you put something nice in front of your clients and don't worry about it too much. So for me, I really like this pet email because it reminds them of days. They're cute. You know, Cheryl gleed a minute and go, wee, you know. And so I think there is some benefit to getting your name in front of somebody in kind of a cutesy way. But right now, I need to set up this email because it's not going to anybody. It's just set up. So I click on the email name. And again, this is a slow program. I am working on something else. I don't want to get too deep, but you know, there is something else I'm thinking about. So while we're doing this, the reason I'm doing this one is if it were me and I have my people in there and now I want to send out some sort of reminder every so often, I picked this pet one because it's very easy. Once I get to the edit, it's asking me who I want to send it to and the schedule that they will go out. And you can see here, it's already grayed out all the stuff that has previous dates, and it has these left. One thing you'll note on this one is I can edit the schedule by going right there. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I need to decide who's going to get it. So if I set up, this is the step where you say, who's getting this? I would add recipients. Well, gosh, I don't want to type out a bunch of names, but you'll see when I add recipients, I can put in individual people or I can put in groups, which goes back to, have you categorized your people into a group that you want them? Now, something like this, I'm just going to say, I'm going to send it to everybody. I don't need it for groups. But if Lynn had a group of people that was looking for 20 plus acreage on the east side of Wichita, east being Butler and on out, she could set up a group and she could have certain reminders or do e-blasts to those groups. That's why you'd put in groups. For this one, you would check this. Down here at the bottom where we can't see, we add it. Now, obviously, I'm not going to save this because I don't want to send it. Well, I can. So I saved that. Now, if you decided that all these were nice, but you don't agree with the dates, because there are some things that are scheduled, well, whether it's scheduled from this or a trigger. Maybe you don't want the email to go out day of closing. You want it to go 3 days after closing. You click on Edit Schedule and confirm. And then you can change the dates. And it can, in this one, it says the actual date. And the other one that's done by, triggered by an event such as a closing and so on, you will have day 0, day 15, day 30, and so on. You can also decide, I don't want anybody to get Thanksgiving because I'm Amish and we don't celebrate Thanksgiving or whatever your reason is. You can come in here and remove an email. This is not the place you can edit an email. That's why we're going over next week how to edit stuff. So let me pause for a minute. We've gone in, we've seen a campaign. We've added a campaign for us. We've learned how to add recipients. Are there any questions so far? Okay. I'm going to archive this because I'm not going to send it out. But the only thing I would have to do at the bottom of this is go save. And I'm waiting for it to save now. By the way, you see this ad email? I'll come back to that in a minute. So remind me to come back to that in a minute. Come on, save, baby. Who's making noise out there in La La Land?
Greg,
Yes, ma'am.
so when we're looking at the screen while you're waiting for it to save, below campaign schedule, if you scroll down. Well, where'd it go?
Well, we saved it.
Well, right
Yeah.
before you hit save, you could have picked next year's count schedules too. You wouldn't have to go in at the beginning of the year and redo it.
Yeah, I
Okay.
love when people help me with that. So thank you, Dixie.
Sure.
So now that I've saved it, and we're going to come back to this screen in a minute because we're going to add another campaign. I can archive it, which turns it off, or I can run campaign, which means it'll start sending emails. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
So you've got the original list set up. Say you want to add 10 people to it. When you add them and then you hit save and run campaign, does it resend everything to the
Nope,
original?
just the new 10,
Just the
10
new
people.
ones?
So I'm going to archive this so I can delete it from Brenda's schedule because again, she lets me play with their account. I don't think she wants me to play with their clients. And then we're going to add a different kind of campaign. That's why I spent an hour on just what we've done so far, because I don't want to. So now I have one campaign that's archived. I'll delete it later. But what that simply means is I have a total of one campaign in here, none awaiting setup, none running, none paused, and one archived. So we're going to add a new campaign that would be a little bit different. Because I want to explain some of the things that you'll see in here if you start getting ahead of me and into next week. So, Tulio, notice that you have Spanish in here on several of them. But since I can't read Spanish, I'm going to stay in English. And I'm going to go to seasonal. No, I don't want buyer warm prospects. What, Lynn? Seller warm prospects. So I want to add that to my campaign. And in a minute, we should get a little thing up here that says added to your campaigns.
If you, yeah, I got a quick question. I went into Warm Prospect Seller and if you preview that, it's the first one says, I'm looking forward to meeting you or getting to know you or something like that.
No, I can't. They're hearing you. I can't hear it. Speak up, Lynn.
Okay, if you had gone into preview, the first one in that seller warm prospect says, I'm looking forward to meeting you or getting to know your
Right.
needs. I guess what would you qualify as a warm prospect? Because the ones I'm thinking of, I already know these people, and that really wouldn't be the best choice of words.
Can you take out that email? Like you can choose from the emails, you could remove that.
We're going to look at that.
because you already-
But this is more like somebody checked into you on your website
Oh,
and,
Okay.
or somebody called you and said, I want to talk about leading my, listing my house, and you haven't gone and visited with them yet. So I'm in seller warm prospects. And you can see there's some emails down here. Our screen is giving us a little fit, so we can't see the bottom of everything. You move this. And you also see it says 9 more emails here. You can pull them all up if you want to. But what we want to do right now is set this up. So we're going to go into seller warm prospects. And while it's thinking, let me discuss where we're going. A lot of this is what I call the prep work. So if you spend an afternoon working on this campaign, let's say a couple hours, and you get it all set up so it's ready to run, you don't have to go back and do anything here ever again. You prep it once. But let's talk about how this gets sent out. You'll notice on this right side, it says trigger seller prospect. We have 2 sets of identifiers in your CRM. One is your groups, and you can make the groups do whatever you want. And the other is a set of buttons at the top that says past client. Then you can choose past client, make them a seller prospect. Then you can move them to warm seller prospect, and so on. And as you move them, that is what these triggers indicate. So basically, when you make somebody a seller prospect and you've added this campaign and turned it on for you, that means when you're working with a client and you hit them into a seller prospect, this drip email would automatically start for them. Correct. Because it's off of a trigger rather than adding somebody. So I've got all kinds of people in my, and I'm already sending them all the holiday stuff. When I mark somebody as a seller prospect, that triggers this email. Do I need to say it again, or do you all follow? And as soon as you trigger it, on day 0, they get a welcome to me as a client. Home value, you're going to get in 7 days. And we're going to look at these in a minute so you'll get a better idea of why I'm talking to you about this. If you take your seller prospect and say, turn them into home is listed, that turns off this one and triggers the next one. Now that your home's listed, do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So that's why I'm discussing this very much as prep work. You get these kind of things set up, and as you change your client in your CRM, they progress through, I'm prospect, I'm listed, I'm under contract, and I'm closed. And every time you change that title at the top of their name, it changes what drip email they would get. Now, as I say that, I think I just heard Lynn, I'm hard of hearing, mouth, that's amazing. Yes, it is. But I also know some people are going to go, that's overwhelming, and I don't want to do that much. Well, then don't do the prep work. But once you do the prep work, then you don't have to go back and do it again. Make sense? So Lynn says, I do want all of my warm prospects to get this. But she says, I want to see what all the emails are, and I may want to adjust some of these days. So Lynn comes in here and hits edit schedule. Ooh, computer's getting fast. Well, I can view the email, and this is one of my frustrations here, and it starts on day 0, and I want to view it. And that's what it looks like. And I read all the way through there and I say, that's great. I'm accepting it and I'm fine with the day. I'm done. If you read all the way through here and say, I never respond with all the best, never, ever, I want to take that out and put in yours truly. Can't do that from here. Have to go to a complete different screen and do it all over. So you have to decide how important some of that is and if you like it. But as I said, the ones that I went through, I tried very hard to read most of the words to get an idea of whether it fit here or not. I suggest always, when you've got this kind of thing going on with all of these emails, I would read each and every one of them because they're not coming from Better Homes and Gardens or Greg Fox. They're coming from you. And if your name's on it, do you like it? Now, the good news is if you say, I don't like that and I want to remove it, it's that easy. It's gone. Then 7 days later, they get that one. And way down at the bottom, it says add an email. Well, you can add different emails. But here's the trick. You can't add what I call edit on the fly emails. You can't take one from scratch and start over. All you can do in here is scroll down all of the titles that have been put into your little watchmajigger that you can choose from. So let's go back to what I did last February. I went through all of the emails, took out some, added some others, but I had to do that in the add the email section, then come in here and put them all back in there so you guys didn't have to do all that crap. That's okay. That's what I'm here for. If you say, you know, I've read all this and I want to add a couple of emails that talk about me, I want to add an email that talks about this or that, then you would need to exit this, go back to the add the email section, add a blank email or add an existing email and edit it to what you want it to be and save the name. And that's what we're going to talk about next week. I'm more explaining why it's a little complicated than I want you to retain it this week. But this week, what we've just kind of gone through is what the triggers are. We have kind of gone through what, how to add a plain drip email and how to look through some of these days and change them or add to them or so on. So let me archive that one now. If I were a betting man, I would guess that the ones that you want to set up first would be not so much the ones that you trigger, although if you want to start reviewing them, go ahead, because we're going to talk more about that next week. But you want to look at things that you wouldn't mind sending all your clients. Holidays, home maintenance, seasonal, things along those lines. Come on, hurry up and archive. So I'm going to add one more to Brenda's as soon as this gets done.
Greg, does it notify us if it bounces back?
Yes.
Okay.
So again, I'm back into my campaigns. We'll talk about e-blasts and customizing more next week. But I want to add again from my campaign, add from the library. You can also see that once I'm in the library, I can click over to emails and e-blasts and all that. But again, if you want to play with it, help yourself. That's not what I'm talking about this week. Because this is a complex system and I didn't want to throw out too much at once. Some of these you can see, like the agent onboarding. You guys won't do that. Let's go down to, I don't want Distinctive Magazine. I don't care about their finance tips. I might say I want luxury staging campaigns, owning it campaign. Let's see if we can find something that has a little bit more. Oh, January, December lifestyle. I want to look into housing stuff. BHG Outdoor Series. Well, let me preview that and see what it looks like. Looks like 15 emails. These would be what they look like. Pick the perfect color for your house. And again, these are all by days. Exterior home tweaks, inspiration. So again, what I don't think I would do is send, all of your clients 35 emails a month. They will go crazy or they'll unsubscribe or delete. But you might pick something that fits your personality. If you're a real gardener, you want the outdoor stuff. If you want to get into, luxury homes and you're a decorator, you might put some, Judy Bias would have done some of that. If you're an outdoor enthusiast, find that. It never hurts to send home maintenance stuff. It never hurts to send out holiday stuff. So I say after looking at this, this isn't Brenda. So I'm going to close it and keep looking. Back to add from library.
Greg, my pet thing finally loaded. Now it's in a waiting setup. So how do you get it to send to everybody?
Send to everybody?
I mean, because it says it went from, now it's in a waiting setup. So how do I schedule?
I'll go back and cover that in just a second. Let me find another one and we'll go through that again. I want to find a campaign that I would add here. So holiday e-cards. And if you don't like the animals, see, there's other things you can do here. Seller video. I'm sorry, what? Well, that's true, but that's not something you'd add to everybody. That would be something. So
like on that recently closed seller, I would really like to get that set up for my people when I get them all categorized. Is there, I guess, like for people that, say closed 2 months ago, then the dates are not gonna.
Right. So that one would be one where you'd get it set up. So as you start moving someone to closed or, seller closed buyer, then it will trigger them to be on. That's not something you'd go back and add to people that are categorized. Let's do a home trends. And I'm just going to go ahead and add it because I trust that they know what they're doing. And Tulio, something you could do is you could add a group because not all of your clients speak Spanish. You could have a group English and group Spanish and then add them that way. So I've added that now, and I'm going to go back to what Sandra was asking by looking at this at the same time. It comes up awaiting setup. It's got the emails in there. You click on the name of it, awaiting setup is what we're clicked on. Click on that, and it's going to pull up the setup that I need to do to make sure that I get it going to the right people. Eventually. Okay. I'm on a landline. You're on a Wi-Fi. Yes, we're hardwired in here. So there's the campaign schedule. And again, this isn't by day. This is, tomorrow they'll get the first home. Day 30, they get a second email and so on. And they go out, about a year. To add who I want to get this, recipients right at the top, set up. And it asks who you want to add. Well, do I want to add everybody? Or do I want groups? Because when I click add recipients, I have a couple of choices. I can type individual people's names, or I can pick my groups. If I pick groups, the first one there is all current contacts. Below that, it would have people that are, so let's say I want everybody to get it except my family. Well, then I just check over here until I get everybody but family in and add them. Or I can check everybody right at the top and I'm done. If I do individual people, I went back to people and I want Greg to get it. And it starts sifting through there and it finds me, Greg Homebuyer, Greg on Rosewood, and so on. Okay.
Now, for those of us that everything got imported from Outlook
Mm-hmm.
and we don't have them grouped yet, but we could click on add everybody and
Right.
it's set up.
Yep. So you would go into add recipients. You would pick on groups still, but it just says all current contacts. That's everybody.
Now, from this moment forward, will it automatically set this campaign to new people as I'm adding them? Or do
My- No,
so when I add a new person, I have to go set them up on the campaign.
yes,
Okay.
but there are also other ways you can add people. I just haven't gotten in there much because it's a little more difficult. Is there any questions about what we just did here? Yeah, I want to go play with my computer a while because it doesn't make sense yet. If I go into overview, I think, but it might be, okay, my people. And this is the part that thrills me less. And I haven't done this for a while, so bear with me. Okay, so when you're in a contact person, John Smith, here's his phone number, his email address and all that, you can't add them to a campaign from there. And that bothers me some. I showed you how you can be in the campaign and add them, but that takes a lot of time and it's kind of cumbersome. It's great if you want to put everybody in, but you can also do it right here. So for example, I showed you all that stuff about the campaign so you could look at it and so on. We could come right here, select all. It's got everybody selected, 341, and I want to add those 341 to a campaign. Now the campaign has to be existing in my account. It's got to be set up and so on. But from here, I click on campaigns and it brings up, well, you've only got one campaign to choose from because I had set up that campaign. Now I can add everybody at once. I believe, and I haven't tested this, that you have to go back and select the new people that you add and add them to that campaign if you want them in there. So if you add a new person in there or 3 people or 5 people, I could be wrong on that. And I'll have an answer for you next week.
So how would we know the difference? You know, if we forget at the moment we enter them, let's say it's been a month and there's no way to tell who the new ones are.
Not that I'm aware of yet, but I'll know by next week. And I also want to say that I don't think you can add somebody to a campaign twice, so they're not going to get double dipped. If you add them and they're already there, it will add the people that, so I could do a select all like this.
Once a month or something.
Yeah. Okay. Just because I want to keep it simple and timely, Does everybody feel like they could pick a campaign that they would like all their folks to have and get it going to them right now? And I'm recording this so you can go back and look, and you can always ask questions. And there's always this help menu down here. This is a very complex system because it is a very, what's the word I want to, specialized system. It allows you to have a lot of control over who gets what. And when you do that, it makes it a little bit harder to make it exactly what you want it to be. So I suggest the first thing you do is start out with, I want my people to get a holiday, a homeowner, a decorating, one campaign, add it into the campaign section up here. I would probably, you got to set it up because you got to set it up and accept it and move it to send now, and then come in here and either add people or add them from the back end and get something going out to people, because it's an attractive, informative email that's easy to do, that first one. Then we'll worry about customizing and triggers next week. Okay? Any questions in La La Land? Apparently not.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay. Then I am going to try to figure out how to stop sharing. There we go. And I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you, everybody, for being here.